Okay, so we did the survey. What steps does the survey take that will allow the data to be used for both purposes?
To prove or to improve.
Yeah.
So my thoughts were that the scaled questions, like, you know, based on a scale of 1 to 5, kind of gave me the impressions of proving something, where the open-ended questions sort of leaned me more towards thinking improvement, especially since it was, you know, give 1 to 3 specific examples of this, or 1 to 3 specific reasons for this. And, you know, in a lot of surveys, you can kind of, if you're not really invested in the survey, you can skip over that portion. But I think for a lot of surveys, that's the part of it that really gives the survey creator the information that they need to know for making improvements.
Yeah, I think the more open-ended, the better, improvements you're going to be able to make, because they'll be able to list specific things, like you said, Stacy. But also at the same time, I know when I'm taking surveys, I'm like, ugh, I gotta write this in. Like half the time, I don't write, depending on the length of the survey. Like the CMS ones are long, and so whenever they're like, "What can be made?" I'm like, I just like yes my way through it. But I feel like, so like if it's like a super long survey and then has open-ended ones, I feel like it's not really going to give you what, like, the information you want. Whereas if it's a shorter survey and has those open-ended ones, then I'm more like, okay, well, this is only 3 questions. I'll spend more time, like, you know, typing in these 3 questions than I would if it's 45 questions plus 8 like write-in questions.
I agree. That's a good point. Having shorter surveys.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about this question, I guess I was reading like more than was there, because it says what steps does the survey take that will allow the data to be used for both purposes? So, but I was also thinking of, you know, part of the steps is having like the creation part of it, because when you create the survey, you're supposed to, if it's done right, you're supposed to have the key stakeholders, and then, you know, it's supposed to align with the objectives and the goals of the program. I mean, and people help to create it. And I don't know. But then when I was just looking at it here while you guys were talking, I'm like, oh wait, I think I read way too much into that. You're talking about taking the actual survey, right? What steps does the survey?
Yeah, I was in terms of taking it.
Yeah. That's just like my own personal experience, and with, I don't know, creating, because I think we've all probably created a survey or 2 for school or for our kids to take or something. And
yeah.
So I think, definitely because nobody likes to, after all those PDs, I still get emails from stupid PDs that I've done. They're like, please complete the survey. Which I know you don't get credit for until you complete the survey, so I'm working on it. But like, they're just so annoying having to go back in there. What did you learn? What did you, like, I don't care. Like,
yeah, and they're very generic. They're not they're not focused on that specific PD at all. It's the same questions for every PD you go to.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of times, like what I say in those surveys is not going to make a difference. So why am I even going to bother with it? So I think, like, if you want things to improve, or if you want to get like my honest, true feedback, keep them a lot shorter and make it relevant. Because, like I said, that's why I don't fill out half those PD things.
Most of the time we do an exit ticket, and that's where you would write, you know, like it seems like they're more interested in the exit tickets, you know, than going back and doing the survey online or whatever. Like, why are we doing both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to keep that in mind when we're making evaluations.
I like to take those surveys that, like, after like Panera or something, and they're like, after you take the survey, you'll get 20% off your next order. I'm like, all right, I'm taking that survey. Like, that's one I'll take. But like ones that are like, we want your feedback. I'm like, I'm not giving you my feedback until you give me something for free.
All right. The next one is compare this survey to the kind of information you would need to assess the AIG program in your school. What is this survey? Compare this survey.
I'm assuming our evaluation of the AIG program survey, like the UNCW one, comparing
Like
that survey
the
to
form one that we just took.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, comparing that to one we would need to survey like everybody at our school.
Okay. As you are discussing your thinking about your school, be sure to compare and contrast your answers with that of people from other schools. So would the survey be sufficient assessment for the purpose of accountability? Why or why not? What are the similarities and differences between schools within your PLC?
So who is taking the survey? I'm wondering.
If it's like whole school or just people that have gifted students, because it'll be different. And we talked about this in previous ones, like with the PD stuff, like nobody's going to pay attention if it's not relevant to them. So if you're teaching a PD to people that don't have TD kids, it's not going to mean anything. Whereas I feel like the same thing if you give this survey about, you know, the AIG program at your school to people who don't participate in the AIG program, like what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
and
feel
is
like
the
your
data
audience-
accurate?
Yeah, so I feel like your intended audience here would have to be people in the like who are part of or have kids in the maybe even like, so I think Robin, you mentioned like the stakeholders, like maybe parents who have kids in the TD program, or like teachers, or maybe the kids themselves, like as an all over way to get information. But I also think that maybe, I mean, it's about surveys, but I feel like a better way would be like to have like an open forum, like a discussion instead of a survey.
Yeah. I was going to say that this question made me think of the stakeholder thing that Robin was talking about. And then what you were saying made me think that in the book, it also says that like you should have multiple data points. Shouldn't just be one thing. So you could have a survey, but then maybe you could have like a forum like thing. That's a great idea.
Because at the same time too, you can have, I know, I think all of us would, there's things that I would say online typing up in a survey that I would not say in the middle of a meeting.
Right.
So like you said, Julie, if you have those multiple data points, then I feel like you can get a better, like, I don't know, a more accurate read on your program.
Cross-reference that.
Yeah.
All right, now is this I mean, to me, this was similar to the one that we just took for this discussion was the same as what I get at school, don't you think? Or was it for you guys? The part of the question says, are the similarities and differences between schools, what are the similarities and differences between the schools at within your PLC as far as the survey? Was this good for accountability?
Well, I was thinking, and I think I've said this before with other things that we've worked on, but I also think it comes down to the population in the school. And I know between the four of us, our populations are not the same, they're very different, which has been good. But I think sometimes, a survey like that, I don't know how productive it would be in a school like mine, where we only have 11 certified TD students, but we have 1,200 students. So the gifted and talented program really is a very small portion of our school. Some of us don't have anything to do with TD kids or the TD teacher or the TD program at our school. So that's kind of why I had a little bit of a difficult time comparing this survey to how it would go in our school, since so many of the teachers at our school don't have anything to do with the gifted program. So I do think it comes down to, it has to be relevant with the PD. It has to be relevant, I think, with the population in the school as well.
And I think it would need to be towards the right audience too, going off that, Stacey. Yeah, looking at the questions right now, if I didn't have any involvement in the TD program at school, I wouldn't even know how to answer these.
Yeah.
I'd be maybe, which would throw off all my data of the person, collecting the information for the survey. So I feel like you have to make sure that it's relevant. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of time.
Well, yeah, and then that brings up the reliability. And is it a good assessment tool for all the diverse, for parents? Are your parents literate or, ELLs and things like that?
I thought that too, because parents are huge stakeholders, but at our school, the parent involvement participation level, it's almost non-existent, so they don't, most of our parents appreciate everything we do with their kids every single day. They're not invested at all. They think that everything we do is wonderful, and they're they're so appreciative of it, but they will fully admit that they're not educated, or they don't speak the language, and they're not comfortable investing themselves too far into what's going on in school.
Hmm.
I have that issue too at my school.
You do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like asking the question if it's sufficient assessment for purposes of accountability, I think it would just depend on how you're using the survey, what you're using it for, like who you're sending it out to.
Yeah. For the
What
purposes
questions
of
you're
this program, I thought it was a great survey. Like it really, it made me think about the things that went on in these last 4 classes, and how a lot of my thinking and how I talk to my colleagues and all that has changed and improved over the course of the school year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for the accountability in that sense, I think the UNCW one did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think the questions that we ask too would be a big factor in the accountability piece.
And I thought it was good that we could specifically put in, positives or negatives.
Yeah.
You don't have to be lengthy to be able to get that in.
Right.
We ready for the next one?
Yeah.
What additional information might you need to collect that this survey did not address? And would all of your schools need the same information? Why or why not? Can you pull up the survey after you've already taken it?
Yes.
Or you can.
Mm-hmm.
I have it up right now.
Yeah, I have it up too. I wanted to see the questions again.
Yeah, same.
Do you mind reading some of the questions?
One of the things, it's like on a scale, like how well did this class help you with, okay, so like increased or reinforced my dedication to improving certain services for AIG students, was academically rigorous, provided sufficient opportunities to engage with organizations dedicated to serving and advocating for the needs of AIG students, provided sufficient opportunities to work with diverse communities. So I feel like these questions are very specific, and I feel like in my brain I'm like, oh yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, we did that. We did this. So I think these are like specific examples that, but again, the purpose of the survey is, oops, I just opened it. Like, I feel like, is the purpose of the survey for them to take what we said and to get better, or is it just literally them seeing what we've done? I feel like whatever your intended purpose of your survey is would determine if there needs to be additional information collected.
Mm-hmm.
If this is just saying, okay, well, did you learn this stuff? Okay, then yeah, then I think I don't think you need any more information. But if your survey is, okay, are the needs of students being met? Okay, then what kind of questions will we ask to make sure that we're fulfilling that purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't real specific as far as like course content. So, it says additional information that they might want to collect. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what they were looking for, because it certainly didn't ask anything about the types of assignments that we did.
Yeah.
Were the discussions useful?
Like this question says, increase my understanding of diversity. So maybe an extension of that, you said yes, okay, what happened? Like what did you experience or do that increased your understanding of diversity?
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, looking at how many questions are on the survey, if you have an example for each one of those, that'd be a long freaking survey.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah, maybe you're right, Robin, just providing more information based on like coursework.
But maybe
academically rigorous. What was rigorous about it if you said it was?
Right.
Yeah,
That's true. Anything else?
But I think you'll get that a lot of if you do like the numbers like that. I feel like you're always going to be missing information because you're not giving the person taking the survey an opportunity to expand on what they're saying with their rating. Okay, I gave it a 3. Let's move on. Okay, but why did you give it a 3? Like,
right.
so I feel like you're always going to miss a piece with the rating scale.
Like you said earlier, keep it short, but at the same time have, extension questions for each of those. If you only have 3 to 5 questions, that's a lot easier to answer even on an open-ended scale than it is, to answer, 15 questions.
Mhm.
Or maybe even in the directions, like specify that it's okay to use keywords or phrases, or, I mean, so people don't get caught up in, editing. And I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes that is a lot of pressure. And if you're trying to do it fast, I'd rather have somebody's a few key words than nothing at all.
Yeah, good point.
Does the survey you took address all of the stakeholders that might be found in the gifted program? Why or why not? I don't know how we would know that, because we don't know who it all went out to. Or I guess they're talking about at our school. Oh, at your school. AIG program at your school.
Yeah, I'm still wondering who's taking the survey, like
Right.
teachers or students or parents or all of the above.
Yeah.
I think that this particular survey could not just go out to all the different stakeholders, because, a parent's view of the AIG program is going to be different than a student's view or a teacher's view.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in my opinion, you'd have to create something a little bit different based on your audience.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say that too. And then that kind of brings me back to like the different data points, having different, not just a survey, but, having different, I guess, opportunities for people to like give their opinion based on who they are.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. They definitely would have a different viewpoint.
And I would be thinking about like the different stakeholders. Like, I feel like because I think an important piece of that is like getting the kids too. But I feel like what you say to like a teacher or a parent might not translate well to a kid. Like if you give this kid the survey and your question is, did this provide sufficient opportunities to apply learned content in school settings? Or like, was this rigorous? Like, they're not going to know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And even based on grade levels, I mean, you'd have to have, smiley face. I mean, when you're doing kindergarten versus.
Yeah, happy face or sad face.
Right. Like you'd have to have the
like,
same goal in mind, but create a different survey for each of those audiences.
Yeah, and then just kind of put exactly like that, Stacey. Just maybe like change the wording or change the response, way they respond to the question that's better for them. So, because I feel too like you might if you might leave it open like in a way for parents, like, okay, you don't want to have a question for a parent that maybe doesn't like you or like the AIG program and like totally, rates it bad or, goes off on you because they don't like you, not necessarily the program. Like, I feel like there's always going to be an angry parent. So you would have to make it in a way that if a parent is angry, that they're not going to skew your data by what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could have a category that is talking about the program and then another category that's talking about your actual teacher. So maybe they could narrow that anger in a focused area.
You can channel it to where it's not about the program, but where it goes.
Right.
And then just have that part so the teacher can't see it. Let them say whatever they want and then just have it be deleted when they submit it. You can't see it.
But we haven't gotten our time warning yet, have we?
Nope, we're good.
And I see at the top it says 40-minute meeting. So I guess they're 40 minutes long. I never realized that's how long they were before now.
Yeah, we get our warning at 30.
Gotcha.
So we have 10 minutes to shut it down.
All right.
All right. Based on these questions, if you were going to create a similar survey to assess the AIG program in your school, what changes would you make to the survey? Make sure you would address the differences and similarities across the schools that might affect the content of the survey or the kinds of questions that you would ask. Stacey, you already kind of addressed that. Like your parent survey would probably be way different than Elizabeth Lane across, at my school, talking to those parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would. And I think some of those questions have like, the UNCW one have like examples, like provided sufficient opportunities to work with diverse communities. Examples, schools, organizations, groups. I probably would have in my questions, like whatever questions I ask, I would have examples. Because the parents might be like, I don't know what she means by this. But by having examples, they're like, oh, okay, well, did we have the opportunity to do this example or whatever? So making it very clear, because I feel like a lot of times the service, you're like, what are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
But giving examples, they have something specifically to look at and compare to. Taking it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way that I hadn't thought about that, but that's a good point, Jordan, because like maybe some people wouldn't understand the question, but some people might also just interpret it differently. And then, then that's another way that messes up your data, because they thought of the question when they answered it differently than you thought of it when you put it out there.
Yeah.
It's true.
So that way it's hard to interpret, schools, organizations, and groups in multiple ways because the example is there. So whenever you give the example, there's a greater chance that it's going to be answered in the way, not that you want to be answered, but you're going to get the answer of what you're actually asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, and that also goes back to the planning and implementation of it. If different multiple key stakeholders are involved in creating it, then hopefully you can catch some of the interpretation, like, miscues or missteps that you might have gotten. Is your button your recording button blinking now?
Nope, not mine.
Weird.
Oh, it is
It's
blinking.
but it's been blinking, I think.
Oh,
Mine is blinking, but I never noticed it before.
oh, something shiny.
All I can look at. Yeah, seriously.
What other tools or information might you need to utilize to assess the AIG program in your school?
I think like we said earlier, like having like an open forum opportunity for people to come, or like a comment box where everybody drops a comment in or something. Like, I feel like the more times or more opportunities you give people to voice, their opinions or their ideas and stuff, the bigger or like the greater of the results you're going to get if you give multiple, like Julie said, multiple data points.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of a comment box, and not like just at specific times, but sort of always available. I know for myself, I think of things sometimes at the most random times. So if I could just like drop a note when I was thinking about it, or, other people could drop a note to me if I was on that end of it whenever they thought of it. And then things could, you could think about things along the way, instead of a lot of times like, oh, I didn't think about that when we were having that meeting, but now I wonder.
Oh, I like that.
Because you think of things after the fact, like when someone says something, you have a really good comeback, but you don't think of it till later. Same with you're like, oh, I have a great idea, and you put it in the Dropbox, and then your TD committee or your TD teacher, whoever's in charge, could look through them and pick the best one, and then bring that to the committee or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for my school, this is more of like I guess, kind of a planning thing, but we have a lot of, I think you mentioned this before, Stacy, a lot of parents who don't speak English. So maybe having if you have an open forum, have a translator there, or if you're sending a survey, make sure that you send one in Spanish as well.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of Spanish speaking parents at my school. So that would be something that I probably have to consider, because I think at least a third to a half of my class is Hispanic.
Yeah. I think the translator is definitely important part of that.
Well, I think too, that's really important, that if you're sending home stuff, because we send home stuff, we don't have that many Hispanic people or students at our school, but we send home stuff, one side is in English and the back is in Spanish. And I think if they see value in that, but they're not just sending me a piece of paper in English that I can't read. They're making the effort to put it in Spanish, and I feel like at that point they're more likely to do it, one, because they actually know what they're supposed to be doing, but two, that they see that somebody, whoever it was, took the time to put it in their language, so they're more likely to do it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on online surveys versus mailing them? Should they be online or should they be mailed?
I feel like online is a lot easier, but the accountability might be higher if it's mailed. So people might feel like, oh, I have to do this, or they would be like, oh, I can just throw this away.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I also feel like if it's addressed, on an envelope addressed to them with their name on it. They might be like, oh crap, I need to do this. It has my name on it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Or you
Or
could
just
do,
throw it away.
you could do it both ways.
If it had a 20% off Panera thing, they would do it.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
used to, I used to teach at University of Meadows, and we did a lot of eating things, like where we served food, and
Mhm.
we got people in that way.
Yeah,
That's why,
what-
like, half the time when I go to meetings, I'm like, is there going to be food or what?
Yeah.
Because I'll go to it if there's going to be food. So, like, as, like, bad as that sounds, I think offering something for taking the survey would enter me in a drawing for a $50 Amazon card. Like,
Yeah.
they probably don't even have a freaking Amazon card they're giving away, but I'm doing that survey because I want to be in the drawing for it. Like,
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with offering some sort of reward or anything to motivate people.
Yeah, our school, like if we have some sort of parent night, like I said, our parent involvement is pretty low. But if we have a parent involvement night, they always offer the kids like because we have a uniform, like a no uniform pass day if they can get their parents to come, or sometimes the class with the most participation will win like an ice cream party, or
Oh, that's cool.
they always try to include some sort of incentive because it's really on the kids to get their parents there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do what you were talking about, Robin. We tend to offer food to our events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No doubt. Well, we're
All right,
almost
so-
out of time.
Yeah, do you guys want me to, are you guys good if I stop the recording here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we
I
don't
think
get
we
cut
had a
off.
Yeah, okay.